Good morning. How are you? It's so nice to see everybody. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day out where I live. I hope it's a good day for you too. Thank you so much for joining me on our usual stream. Glad to see you here. So, as you know, we usually like to start off the streams with the global roll call. I love to see where everybody is checking in from. So please let me know your city, state, province, country, whatever you'd like to share. I also do this to try to make the streams inclusive, where people can join in and not feel like you have to be like some super data scientist to join in. So as you can see, the chats are already starting to come in over my shoulder here. So would love to hear from, again, where you're from. Just let me know a little bit about you, and maybe you tell me if you're a student or whatever your interest in data science may be. So while we are waiting for more of those chats to come in, I always like to start off with an opening note. So today I wanted to have a general note on machine learning versus AI, because I see a lot of companies or announcements or things out there that are really not always making an appropriate distinction, between what is AI versus what is machine learning. Now, on one side, we have things like the marketing aspect of it, where people are calling things AI just to make it sound more modern and maybe sell some more items, right? On the other hand, we have cases where people just kind of don't understand the difference between machine learning and AI. I think a lot of people would maybe put them as being equal, as far as, well, aren't they the same thing? So the key that I want to impress upon you is that there are some differences between machine learning and AI. First of all, most AI out there really is machine learning under the hood, right? So you are welcome to come up with your own definition, but my definition for AI versus machine learning is going to be around whether the algorithm learns on its own. Have you created the steps so that an algorithm can learn from its own results, its own mistakes, take it into a new training cycle and learn from that? And also, is it being done in an automated way, right? Because you can do the process I just described almost like as an offline method, but can it do it in an automated way? And that is where you start to get into the differences between something that's just a series of machine learning algorithms that run on their own versus AI that not only runs on its own, but it also learns on its own. It also takes in information on its own. So I want you to think about that. And I always give these opening notes because you're also welcome to comment on them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have a different perspective. That's okay. So feel free to comment on that. Feel free to, let me know what you think. Maybe you see a different definition. It seems like a lot of people in different companies and whatnot, they have their own definition. So I want to hear about yours. But, if you want to think about that for a little bit, I'm already seeing people who are giving me their location. So looking forward to that. I'm going to get to those. If you're joining us a little bit late, because I'm seeing a lot of people on Instagram, feel free to let me know your city, state, country, just quickly introduce your location. I love doing the global roll call to help me see where people are joining from. I know I have followers all over the world, so I love seeing that because I love traveling. And it's also good to see where everybody else from the community is from. Maybe you'll find somebody within your city or your university or whatever the case may be. So let me check in here. Sugi says, hi, can I ask something? Yes, Sugi, I do questions after the global roll call. So let us know where you're from. Give people here a chance to check in, and then we'll get to questions. I always love hearing your questions, so we'll get to that. So our first message is from Abi Depth. Hello, sir. Hello, Abi. Thanks for joining. Let us know where you're from, Abi. Samir Sen. Samir, I know you've been a great supporter of the stream, so glad to see you again, my friend. Hey, Dennis, checking in from Lalitpur, Nepal. Loved your classes. How are you doing? Oh, great. Yeah, that's right. You're from Nepal, so glad to see that you're here. Loved your classes. We had a really great class this past Wednesday. I was really happy with the turnout. Lots of good people, lots of good questions. For those of you that missed it, you can check out my YouTube channel. I have a class that I ran on Wednesday. We went for a full 2 hours. Can you guys believe that? That was a long class. But I ran a class on how to get your data science project off the ground. I get a lot of questions from followers just like you about, well, give me a project idea. I need a project idea for my graduate course. I need a project idea for my portfolio. Or I get people, or rather, I always give you guys the answer. If you want to be a data scientist, start doing the work of a data scientist. So that's what that class focused on. How do you actually take a study or take some information and build your own data science project of it? So if you didn't get a chance to attend, the full replay is up on YouTube. Or if you want to see more of those classes in the future, send me some feedback and let me know. I might run those classes again. It's a lot to do 2 hours, so maybe I'll take a little break in between the classes. I don't know. But yeah, but thank you so much for that feedback, Samir. And if there's another topic for a class you'd like, let me know. But glad you're here. You're visiting us from Nepal. All right, let me see who else is checking in. El Tashis says, greetings from Surat, India. I am into data engineering. Thanks for the hard work. Well, great. Thank you for being here, Elta. I hope everything is well in Surat. I think most parts of India are super hot right now, just like it is with me. Right? We are expecting a very hot day today. So I hope you're staying cool out there in India. Okay, so Sugi says, I am from Indonesia, not yet in university, but prefer to self-study ML and AI. Well, great. Self-study is definitely possible. Make sure that you take some of your skills and start applying them to your own research, your own studies. Again, I have that course up on YouTube that walks through an example of how you would take, an article that you read and the data and all that, and turn it into your own studies. So feel free to check that out. Chidi Henry says they are from the United Kingdom. Well, what part of the UK? I think I've mentioned this before, but whenever somebody says United Kingdom, I always think of Ted Lasso. And he has this short online where he's trying to figure out, this is where he's the coach for the Tottenham Hotspurs. And he's trying to figure out, the United Kingdom and all that. And he just stops and says, wait a minute, how many countries are in this country? So that one always makes me laugh. So what part of the United Kingdom? Give us some more details there. Sidhu says they are from India, Hyderabad. Cool. Somebody told me on a previous stream that Hyderabad is the second Silicon Valley of India, so good to know. Emperor Izizi from Abuja, Nigeria. Very cool. We get a lot of viewers from the African continent, so I'm glad you're here. Rex Riker is checking in from NYC. What part of NYC? I just moved back from there. I just left NYC in March. I was there for 2 years. So let us know what part of NYC, Rex. And glad to see you're checking in on YouTube. I love how this little chat tells us the different icons of where people are checking in from. So good to see that. Cyberton is checking in from Philly, US. Awesome. Glad to have you. I am Lakshmi Narayana is also checking in from India, also from Hyderabad. I'm sure that's a big city, but it's good to see people from the same city checking in. Patunia Dithledge says they are from Dithledge, South Africa. Very nice. I've always wanted to make it to South Africa. I've made it to other parts of Africa, but never down there. Rex says they're from the Bronx. Great. I can't remember how much time I spent in the Bronx when I was out there in New York. I was only there for 2 years, which seems like such a short time for New York. Rex says, I really needed that session from last Wednesday. Well, I keep all of my live streams and the classes online. I post clips on Instagram, things like that. But the best place if you want to see the entire session is to go on YouTube. On YouTube, I keep all of my live streams on there. I also have them on Twitch, but I don't think Twitch keeps them as long. But on YouTube, they're going to stay there forever. So feel free to go there and you'll see the entire class. And if you have follow-up questions, feel free to post a comment there or send me a message on Instagram. And like I said, I might do some more of those sessions in the future. It's fun to do them live because as I mentioned before, I'm never going to do pre-recorded content for data science. It's boring for me to put together. It's boring for you guys to watch it. So I'd rather just do them as live streams. Mustafa, our man in Morocco, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. I know you're a big supporter, so thanks for being here. All right, so if you're joining us late, because I'm seeing a lot more joiners on Instagram, we start by doing our global roll call. Let us know the city, state, and country you're from. Don't be shy. I do that so that everybody can participate. You don't have to ask some amazing data science question to participate. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to give people time to do that, but I'm also going to go back and I'm going to look at some of the previous questions that people have posted. And then, feel free to jump in or give your thoughts on the opening note or anything else you'd like. So Samir says, I am doing great on my internship. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. This is just to give some background here. Samir has been sharing his internship journey with us. Samir, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is the one where you are reporting directly to one of the CEOs or CTOs or something like that. And I think they hired you on as a data analyst, if I remember right. So that's good. It's good to hear that. Give us some more background. How long is the internship? I can't remember if I asked you that or not. I know that when I hire summer interns, I usually hire them on a 10-week cycle, and 10 weeks goes by very, very fast. It's very difficult to kind of be able to plan, anything extended with interns. And then on top of that, it's also difficult because it's very unlikely that you're going to step into a situation where they have a project waiting for you, right? You're usually joining projects that are already in progress. That can bring its own challenges. So let us know something about the timing of it all. Maybe they've already assigned you something. So give us some more background, Samir. But overall, I'm glad to hear that it's going well for you. Internships are important because you want to get, not just the experience, but also the reference afterwards. It's always important to leave, with a good reference. Okay, let me keep on going down. I think we had a couple of questions. Yeah, so Sugi, right now is the time for questions. If you wanna let us know something on your mind here. Okay, I am Lakshmi says maybe out of context. What particular topics of DSA are important for machine learning? Did I miss the memo on DSAs or something? Because I seem to see a lot of that questions coming up, or sometimes I see it in my feed, particularly on Instagram. Is there something going around DSAs, or did I miss why DSAs are all of a sudden really popular? The first thing I would advise you is to relax about the technical aspects that people think are required for jobs or for internships or things along those lines. I think that sometimes there is an overemphasis on, this course says you got to know this, so I'm going to study that, or the latest leak code is focused on this, so I got to be an expert in that. Let's just all calm down. Right? For me, in your question, the key part is not the DSA part, but rather the machine learning part. So the important part is to understand what exactly you're encompassing when you're talking about machine learning, and to understand the differences between the different techniques that are within machine learning. So most of the time when you're talking about machine learning, you're going to be focusing on neural networks. So personally, if I was in your position, I would choose to study the different types of neural networks. When is it appropriate to use the different neural networks? What is the difference between them? What is the difference between the different types of nodes? So for example, I'm trying to think about my own interviewing when I'm bringing on data scientists to my team. For example, I have a question on what is the dropout rate. If you're working in machine learning, you should instantly have an answer to what is a dropout rate. I also have a question. You have to forgive me because I'm running through my memory here, but I also have a question on LSTM nodes. What is an LSTM node, or why is it different, right? I am 10 times, and I think I'm speaking for other hiring managers here. I know everybody has their own process, but I am 10 times more likely to ask you questions on that than to ask you about, some DSA, right? So I am much more interested in knowing that you are aware of what the tools that are out there and how to properly apply them when you would apply them than I am about some individual, leak code type question, right? That is significantly more probable for you to come across in your interviews. So I would ask you to kind of think of it in that way, that don't get caught up in doing the exact code and then you kind of miss, you kind of can't back away and take that macro view, that meta view, and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm working in machine learning, but why am I doing that? What kind of problems are machine learning problems? What are the tools that I would apply? What are the hyperparameters I can tune, right? Those are much more important questions than trying to get down into like the fine details of particular DSAs. So I hope that helps. I'm always open to you guys doing follow-up questions in the chat. So please let me know what you think about that, and hopefully that helps you in some way. Oh, look at this. We have messages going back and forth in the chat among the community. That's awesome. I'm glad to see that you guys are connecting that way. Matthias Bull says they are checking in from Chile. Wonderful. Glad to see you here. Would love to see more viewers from South America. I think South America is only about 15% of my analytics. So welcome. Glad to see you here. Niraj says hello. Hello, Niraj. Let us know where you're from. Unavailable here says, hi, I am Shikar from India. Great, Shikar. Glad to see you here. Rex says, I have to step away for a bit, but we'll be back. Hope you're still on. Yeah, we go for an hour on these live streams, so you're welcome to come on back. I would go much longer on these live streams because I enjoy talking to all of you, but Instagram unfortunately cuts off streams at 1 hour. So I have a big audience on Instagram, so that's why I stop after an hour, but I'd love to go longer. Mustafa says, I'm honored to be among the fams. Well, we're honored to have you, Mustafa. Hope you're doing well out there in Rabat. Okay, Niraj. Niraj, did you tell us where you're from? Let us know where you're from, Niraj. So Niraj says, I am not getting any job interview calls. All job application is getting rejected. Okay. So many things that you could be looking at there. First of all, realize that it's a very tough hiring environment right now, right? I personally have seen signs and reasons to be optimistic for, the next year or so of hiring, but it can be a tough hiring environment right now. It is even harder if you are looking for remote jobs. I think that makes it a little bit harder. So Niraj, if you're not getting callbacks, one, it may not be you. It's something that's just maybe a tough environment, so we got to stay positive in light of that. 2, you should be getting some callbacks, so at least getting some interviews. So if you feel like you're not getting anything at all, then maybe it's time to re-examine your resume. Either the formatting of it or the content that you have within, might be time to start looking at that, right? Because if you look at it from a conversion standpoint, right, you should have a good resume that gets you a certain amount of interviews, and then a certain amount of interviews turn into second round interviews. And then, some of those interviews will eventually turn into offers, right? So if you're not converting at that first step, then, it might indicate that you want to look at your resume, right? And a data science resume can be a tricky thing. Personally, I have found it most beneficial, when I feel like I want to put a resume out there. I don't put resumes out there now, I work for myself now. But some of the earlier resumes that I would use would start off right at the top with the list of languages and packages that Put it out there as a list, as your technical skills, and put out the packages and languages and whatever else you want to include in there that Let people know from the very beginning, what you're about. So, I offer a resume review as a service. I also offer practice interviews as a service if somebody would like to know more about that. But if you're not getting any calls or any traction, then start looking at the resume. Start revamping your resume, because obviously the conversion there is not what it should be, right? So that's what I would advise you. Hopefully that helps. Stay positive. I know it can be frustrating, but keep your chin up and good things will happen, okay? All right, going down the list here. Again, I'm seeing more people join on Instagram, so please feel free to let us know the city, state, province you're from. People, I do it so people can participate, but if you want to just listen along, that's okay too, but feel free to introduce yourself. Okay, so Mustafa says, hi Dennis, I do have a question. I'm building this spam filter. I did all the EDA stuff and I'm in the training phase, but I have no clue of how to deploy the module and maintaining the performance. Give me a little bit more background there, Mustafa. Where do you want to deploy this? And for spam filter, I'm assuming you're doing it as an email filter, like you're doing this on Gmail, or let me know where you're looking to deploy it. Another thing that jumps out at me is how are you doing the validation on this? Because if you're doing NLP, one, that's a very time-consuming validation process because you have to read everything, right? There's really no automated way to do that validation. And two, you're probably going to need more records than you think you are. So how are you doing this? Did you do this by yourself? Did you have some help? Give me some background there, okay? So Neeraj writes, 3 years experience in data engineer, having knowledge in Spark, Hadoop, Hive, Python, other ETL tools. Great. That should be the first line in your resume, okay? Any guidance on further on which specification is best, becoming data scientist or stay in data engineer? That depends. That depends on your interests, right? Remember, guys, I don't advocate for chasing jobs. I don't want people out there chasing jobs, chasing titles, writing things to make the recruiter happy or the interviewer happy. That's not the point. The point is to be a data scientist. Well, let me take a step back. The point really is to follow your passion, right? So for Neeraj, for a question like this, what are you more passionate about? Are you more interested in being a data engineer or a data scientist? Are you more interested in doing something else? Maybe data science isn't for you, right? So that's the types of questions I would ask you to, kind of think about and, figure out if you're really following your passion. There's no hack, there's no unlock or combination of magic words on your resume that's going to get you the job. What's going to get you the job is the skill set that you build, right? The passion that you bring to it. And I emphasize this because these types of things come across in an interview, believe it or not. Right? If you're feeling like beaten down by the process or negative on interviewing, that's going to come across, right? But if you're passionate about this and you really want to be a data engineer, that's going to come across too, right? So that's why I emphasize these things, because hiring can be difficult, but it's about you. It's about what you want and the passion and the skills that you bring, right? If you guys, if you've attended before or you've seen some other content, I'm really big on the book Mastery by Robert Greene, because that book really changed my life. It made me, pick a mastery and dedicate myself to it. That mastery happens to be data science, right? And I did that many years ago, and it's brought nothing but good things, right? But it's up to you to determine what your mastery is and how you want to pursue it, right? Okay, so I am Lakshmi says, I am a beginner wondering on how to start to learn machine learning. Is it fine to start with the syllabus of machine learning or directly starting up solving a data set questions or internships? Lakshmi, did you write earlier and say that you were still in high school or you were going into university? I can't remember if that was you. But Lakshmi, I would give you a similar reply, that it's not about, well, what study or what magic syllabus do I need? It's about being a data scientist, and it's about determining if data science is for you, right? Ultimately, I want you to follow your passion. If that happens to be data science, great, but maybe it's not. So those are the things I would like for you to think about. It's not about what syllabus or what course or what certification do I need. It's about becoming a data scientist and doing the work of a data scientist. I think that's what ultimately will help you rise in whatever field you choose, right? I give the same answer to people who kind of put a timeline on it, because I get a lot of questions like that. Well, what should I study for the next 3 months, or can I become a data scientist in 2 months? Things like that. That's not the way data science works. Data science is a serious profession, just like being a doctor or a lawyer is, right? You have to bring an extra passion to it. So I hope that helps you, Lakshmi, to kind of take the time to do some self-reflection on what it is exactly you want to do. Okay? Petunia Dithledge says, do you do classes every day? I do not. I do live streams Sundays and Thursdays at 1500 GMT. That schedule seems to work for a lot of people. I do not do them every day. Every once in a while, I was thinking maybe I'll do like a special week where I'll do a live stream every day of the week, just to have some fun with it, mix things up. So I was thinking of maybe doing something like that sometime in the future. But no, right now my schedule is Sunday through Thursday. Sunday and Thursday. And then I also do the live classes that I did as a one-off experiment. Like I said, I did that this past Wednesday. The replay is available on YouTube. I may do them again in the future, but I don't see myself doing those more than once a month, because I still have, my corporate clients I have to keep up with, and I have my other projects and interests that I do. I have a special project that I'm working on that I'm getting ready to announce here. So really, I just, that's just the schedule I keep for that. But thanks for asking, and I hope you're able to attend more in the future. Matthias Bull says, what do you think about the hype with Gen AI and the businesses that are trying to use it, putting the solution in front of the problem? Great question. Great question. And you know what? If anybody else in the chat wants to contribute to that answer, I think that's a great question for the chat. I think you're right, Matthias. There is certainly a lot of hype. There's a lot of scrambling still to kind of figure out where we're going to use all of this. There's also a lot of fake Gen AI gurus out there. I think some of them are hilarious, and unfortunately, some companies are falling for it. But yeah, definitely a lot of hype around it. So many ways I could answer your question, but I would tell you that I see a general life cycle that's going to develop. What you're going to see is you're going to see where we're at now, where we're using Gen AI algorithms as they are, right? You go onto ChatGPT, you use their chat interface, and you run with it. The second iteration is going to be around companies doing fine-tuning on those models for their own data. And that's already happening, right? Fine-tuning is already out there, and companies are kind of creating their own versions of their LLMs. And that's happening both in private and in public. I work with clients that are doing that privately, and then you're also seeing that in some public instances, right? And then third iteration is to have companies that build their entire LLMs from the ground up. So I think it's an interesting progression. I think that you can kind of measure companies based on how quickly they're adopting each one of those iterations, right? The ones that are trying to do it properly are going to take their time along that life cycle. And they're going to figure out exactly why each stage does not meet their current requirements, right? Because ChatGPT is only going to get you so far, and then fine-tuning is only going to get you so far, and then even building your own LLM is only going to get you so far, because you're going to get there and you're still going to be in a chat interface, right? The future of Gen AI is not a chat interface. So from there's going to be companies that are going to quickly adopt how they use a Gen AI or how they use an LLM. And then on top of all that, there's going to be progression individually, right? Because Gen AI has text versions, and then there's going to be image versions, and then there's going to be video versions, right? We're kind of seeing those progressions too. So lots of things to come on that. So I love the question, Matthias, because, I think it gives us a lot to think about. And honestly, this is also part of the reason why I tell you that I am optimistic on hiring for the next year, because I'm seeing hiring at the executive level. I'm seeing a lot more offers coming out at that level. well, those executives aren't going to do the jobs themselves. They need to build out their staffs, right? So I'm seeing a downstream effect on hiring, down to the Gen AI engineering level. Some of my clients have hiring plans that are going to trickle down like that, right? So great question. Lots to come on it. Lots of reasons to be optimistic. And if somebody else in the chat has thoughts they want to share on that, would love to hear it. But thanks for the question, Matthias. So Niraj says that they are joining from Bangalore, India. Wonderful. Glad you're here. Mahinul says, can I ask a question? Of course. Yeah. Let us know where you're from. And then feel free to let us know what questions you have. And if you're joining us in the Instagram, because I see a lot of new joiners on Instagram, please feel free to let us know where you're from. Just quickly introduce yourself. It's part of our inclusivity in my live streams. Matthias says, Niraj, keep track of your applications and try to do some A/B testing with them. Great advice. I love the data science mindset that you're applying there. So yeah, great advice to go ahead and start, maybe having multiple versions of your resume and see if one or over the other starts getting you more replies. I like it. Thanks for the assist there, Matthias. M. Wilson, did you let us know where you're from? I think you're from Michigan, if I remember. I think you've joined our streams before. Is there other common practices in data science other than machine learning AI? Yeah, of course. I was actually just putting together some materials around this last night. You have to look at data science as a complete collection of tools, right? And those tools include things like regression methods, random forest, nearest neighbors, XGBoost. A lot of these models that have kind of fallen by the wayside, but are still very effective, very valid tools to use in data science. And I think there's a tendency for people to think about, oh, those are the old methods, or those are the traditional methods, or well, you want to focus on the newer methods of neural networks and this and that, right? And that's really poor thinking, because you shouldn't be thinking about things as being older, newer, better, or worse, whatever, right? It's all just one big toolbox of data science tools. And if you look at most of the formal data science education, it begins with things like regression methods, because regression methods, is still very fun. The approach there is still very fundamental to everything else you do, right? What are the factors? What are the weights you want to assign to that factors? And what are some of the parameters that you can tune around those factors? You learn that in a regressions course, and that's basically data science across just about every model that's out there, right? So yeah, there's definitely reasons to want to still study and still have a very solid background in some of those tools that people think of as older, or the traditional data science tools. It's all just one big toolbox, and you pull out the tool that fits your data best, because every data set is unique. You never know when a particular model is going to fit your data set. So there's no reason to not try those models. Because if you start thinking of models as older or not as effective, then that's your own bias, right? That's a form of researcher bias that you are exercising, and that's bad, right? You want to exclude as much bias as you can from your work. So great question, appreciate that. And yeah, there's a lot more to data science besides machine learning and AI. So thanks for that. I am Lakshmi says, while preparing for data science, machine learning, how on the other side do we get real-time and practical scenarios of business cases and the industrial practices? I mean, any resource to follow? Yeah, this is exactly what my class on Wednesday was about. So I would encourage you to go back on YouTube and look for the 2-hour class that I did. This is exactly what I did. I started with a news article. I showed them the study, showed how the study has its own analytics, how the study made its raw data available, and then how to work with it from there. So, part of it is just really applying yourself and putting in the time to do it. putting in the time to say, hey, I read this article, but I'm not sure I agree with the conclusions. Let me go do my own research on that article, right? So Lakshmi, I would encourage you to start there, because that is exactly the problem that a lot of people approach me with. And that's why I did the class around that, because I want to show you how to actually get started, how to actually do the work of a data scientist. And it's in that video. I believe it's pronounced Mahinul. I am from Melbourne, 30 years old with an electrical engineering background. Do you think it's a good decision to switch to a DS career? Where or how would you recommend to start, given I have no prior DS experience? Okay, so why data science? Why are you choosing to switch over to data science? Why not something else? I'm curious about that. Why not like DevOps or something like that? So if you want to provide some more background there, let me know. But I get questions from career switchers quite a bit also. And I kind of want to know why. Like, give me some background on why you want to do that. Because I think it's important about following your passion, right? Don't follow something because it's the sexiest job of the 21st century. Follow something because you want to do it, because it's inherently interesting to you. So let me know. Give us some more background there. So I am Lakshmi. As a follow-up says, as you say, sir, DSA may not be a prioritized topic. How do we get efficient in Python coding as far as data science and machine learning is concerned? Pick a package that relates to machine learning and learn that package backwards and forwards. That's a fairly effective way to increase your Python skills when it comes to data science. Pick whatever you'd like, but I think most people start with pandas as a package. There's a lot of really good resources in pandas. And one of the things I advise people is take an Excel sheet that you worked on, some Excel project, some analytical project, or whatever the case may be. Take a well-developed Excel sheet and now go and do that in pandas. Right, because everything you do in Excel, you should be able to do in pandas relatively quickly, right? So if you want a coding exercise, do that. But again, I'm not telling you to go chase coding exercises. I'm telling you to chase your passions, right? So I want you to take some time to think about, why you want to do data science. But as a practical coding exercise, take a big Excel sheet that you've worked on in the past and then make it happen in pandas. Depending on the sheet, that's easier said than done. But to me, that's a fairly effective exercise to be able to start working, getting your hands a little deeper in the code. All right. So I hope that helps you, Lakshmi. Leonardo says, I'm here. Well, good to see you, Leo. I know you're a great supporter of my content, so good to see you here. I hope you're well, my friend. Sivaganesh, I believe is how it's pronounced. Hi, Dennis. I'm from Fort Mill. I recently followed you as a senior data scientist. What would you suggest? I'm sorry, maybe part of your question got cut off there. Sivaganesh, let me know if I missed part of your question or how I can help, okay? Slad 2017 says, what is the difference between data science and data engineering? Good question. You know what? I want to open that up to the chat. Does anybody want to contribute there? Because we have had some questions, people telling us that they are already data engineers or whatnot. So yeah. Okay, so let's do that as a challenge. Give me the shortest description that you can of the difference between data science and data engineering. So we'll make this like a code golf challenge, right? What's the shortest answer you can give to that? I love the question, Slad. So we have plenty of people in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of joiners on Instagram and on YouTube. So that's the challenge for today, chat. What is the shortest definition you can give for the difference between data science and data engineering? So we'll come back to that. Thanks for the question, Slad. Kevin Benny says, hi, Dennis, joined late to work. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here, my friend. I know you're supporting my stream, so thank you so much for that. I'm glad to see you here. Okay, so Mustafa says, the idea is a website will give you an email and you either spam or not spam. Okay, so you're building the human validation side of it? Or you're building this as a finished product? Yeah, let me know. Give me a couple more details here, Mustafa. I guess I'm just not understanding it. So your website, I will load the email text and it tells me whether it's spam or not spam? Or you're looking to deploy this? Give me some more detail, Mustafa, or feel free to send me a message on Instagram. I think we're already communicating there. I'll try to help there, okay? Mr. Moise, did you let us know where you're from? Let us know where you're from. I have commodities market level whole country data from 2017 to 2023. Great. What can I do? Lots of things that you can do with that type of data. But I want to enable you to be able to come up with your own answers, right? And the reason I say that is because being creative is a very valuable skill in data science. And I say that for two reasons, right? Because one, there's all kinds of data out there, right? And how you put it together is what makes you different than other data scientists, right? Your creativity is what makes you different. Think of it this way, right? If there was a formula to answering your question, then every data scientist would be the same, right? We would just be robots. So don't miss this opportunity to exercise your own creativity, right? Because you're basically handing over your career to somebody else when you say, well, what can I do with this data? Well, it's you. You can be creative with the data, right? That's what makes you different. That's what's going to drive your career, right? And the second reason I want to encourage you to think about it yourself is because that's what's going to happen in the workplace, right? In the workplace, you're not just the data scientist, you're also the ideas person, right? You're leading the ideation meetings and things like that. People are going to be looking to you for the ideas on what to do with this data, right? I mean, they're not going to give it to you. They're just going to say, here's our marketing data. Here's our web logs or whatever. What can we do with this? So you're not going to be asking them. They're going to be asking you. So I want to give you limited guidance here because, again, I want to encourage you to kind of, come up with your own creativity. But think of it this way. A hypothesis that starts off the scientific method is really just a form of a question. If you can come up with questions, you can come up with a hypothesis, right? So I would sit with your data and say, what are some of the questions that I can ask of this data? And if you can do that, then you'll be on your way to starting a hypothesis. And if you can start a hypothesis, you'll be on your way to starting the scientific method, right? So that's as far as I'm willing to give you an answer here. Because again, I don't want to spoon feed answers to you. I want to encourage you to kind of develop these skills on your own. But I hope that helps. It sounds like a wonderful data set. I could think of a million projects I could do with that data set. But don't miss this opportunity to be creative, okay? Okay. Niraj says, thank you, Dennis, for the advice. Thank you, Matthias Bull. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm glad to see that the community is helping each other, right? That's beautiful. I love it. Deathlock29. Deathlock, you didn't tell us where you're from. Let us know where you're from. Sir, I have developed skills in Python, SQL, and Power BI. Is there other tools to get updated in data analytics? I like the combination of tools. I guess really the only question is which SQL packages are you familiar with? Because SQL is a language, not necessarily a package, right? Every package out there implements it in a different way. So are you an expert with MySQL, with SQL Server, with Hadoop? Let me know. That's where I would develop skills further, right? Or maybe like put that more clearly on your resume or whatever the case may be. But it's not just SQL, it's what packages of SQL you can apply your language skills to, right? Or your querying skills to, okay? Rex writes, well, Rex, glad to see that you're back. I think you said you were stepping away. What are your thoughts on using generative AI assistants as guides and tutor to build projects in our knowledge base? Sorry if I already answered this question. No, I think that's definitely the way to do it. In fact, one of my videos on YouTube that I think I deployed maybe like 2 weeks ago talks exactly about this. The future of being a coder or even a data scientist is not about writing the code. It's about using AI to write the code for you. So I am definitely pro using assistants and co-pilots and things like that. The skill is going to be in being almost like a senior data scientist, to be able to know what objects and pieces of code you need, right? Because the AI isn't going to write everything for you. It still needs to be guided. So the skill is in knowing what those objects look like, and then being able to say, okay, ChatGPT or whatever, here's the code that I need you to write. And then the secondary skill is to be able to edit that code, because, AI is still making mistakes. I've spent a lot of time in the past 2 weeks on my own personal research with AI tools to write code for me, and they still require a significant amount of editing, right? And that's okay. They're going to improve over time, and the mistakes are reasonable, things along those lines. But that's going to be where the future of being a data scientist is going to be. It's not writing the code, it's writing the AI prompts to write the code, and then being smart enough to be able to say, yeah, that code looks great, but what I really need is this, this, and this, and then being able to edit it on your own. So great question, Rex. If you're already doing that, if you're already kind of exploring using AI to write code for you, I think that's the right track. I think that's where we're all headed. Matthias says, thank you for your answer. Well, great, Matthias. Thanks for being here, and thanks for helping answer some of the other community questions. I love that. Al Kathiri says, hi from Oman. Wonderful. Glad to have you here. I don't think we've had anybody from Oman before, so thanks for joining. Deathlock says that they are from Bangalore, India. Cool. I hope you're keeping cool out there in India. Himsteak says, hey, I loved your class. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you here. I know you've joined the streams before. Thanks so much. Could you talk more about the value add in DS projects? Give me some more background, please. The value add of the project itself to the business, or the value add of data scientists to a project? There's kind of two value adds there that I can think of. So please give me some clarification, okay? Rack5102 says, what is your salary? Come on. I'm going to move on. You guys are asking great questions. That is not an example of a great question. Siddharth says, hi, Dennis. I'm joining from Indore, India. Well, thank you, Siddharth. I think I've seen you before on our chat. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to skip that question. Rack, my friend, you're a smart guy. You can ask better questions, my friend. M. Wilson says, thanks here. I'm from Orlando, Florida. Why did I think you were from Detroit? But welcome. It's always good to see people from Florida. I imagine it's very humid there, but thank you so much. Thanks for being here, Wilson. Okay, Mr. Moyes, that's a repeat question. Siddharth says, time series with CNN, is it a good combo? Maybe, maybe not. That's why we do experiments, right? That's why we have a process, a methodology for data science to carry out and say, hey, this is my data. What does my data tell me? Well, let me do an EDA phase. Okay, I did some EDA. Let me visualize it. Now, what do the visualizations tell you? Sometimes, visualizations are great for leading to questions, right? We talked about questions and hypotheses earlier. Visualizations are wonderful for that, especially if you want to involve the business in that, right? You don't send them Excel sheets, you send them visualizations. And that's going to lead to them talking about different questions or or hey, I thought I would expect this chart to show this, but it actually shows this. Why is that? And that why can become a hypothesis, right? But really, Siddharth, what I really want to impress upon you is try not to have a bias walking into a project, because what you're demonstrating with this question is a form of a bias to say, when I have a time series problem, that's a neural network problem. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? Time series can be a funny thing. There's a lot of really good packages out there now for time series. Maybe you should explore that too, right? It just depends. So I really can't answer your question, and you shouldn't be able to answer your question until you do some experimentation with it. Okay, Siddharth? Siva, my friend, I know you've been on these lives before. Says, hey Dennis, sorry I couldn't attend the past week's lives. Hey, no problem. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're well. Hope you're good in your part of the world. So thank you for being here. Praveen says, hello, sir. Well, hello to you too. I'm glad to see you here, Praveen. Okay, so it looks like the chat is catching up with our previous question about what is the difference between data engineer and data science. I thought it was a wonderful question. I think it was asked by Slod is who asked it. So Slod, you can help me judge some of these answers, or maybe the chat can help me judge some of these answers. And we have about 5 minutes left before Instagram cuts me off. So this is great. Let's go through some of these. Okay, so Mr. Moy says, data engineer, build pipeline to collect and store data. Okay, but that doesn't tell me the difference between data science, right? Rex, our friend on YouTube, says, DE builds pipelines, DS fits models. Okay, that's a strong answer. That's a strong answer. I'm liking it. Okay, Mustafa, our friend in Morocco, says, Python is for DS versus Java is for data engineering. Ooh, okay. I love the unique take, Mustafa. That's a very unique take. But I would argue that you could do Python for data engineering, right? Java doesn't have to be for data engineering. But I like the take. I like the take that they would work in different languages. I like it, Mustafa. But I think you're going to have some replies on that. Chat, what do you guys think? Java for data engineers? I think Python is pretty strong for data engineering too. So let's see. All right, Kevin says, data science is applying statistical methods on data. Data engineering is applying technology to manage a data store and process the data for better analysis. I love it. I think that's a great answer. The challenge though, Kevin, was to do it in the shortest description possible, right? We're doing a little bit of code golf. So I think Rex might have you beaten a little bit on the length of it, but I love the description. I think that's very accurate. Himsteak is obviously a big fan of Java. I think we have a lot of massive fans of Java. But yeah, let's see if there's any other questions or any other answers for the data engineering versus data science, because we're running short on time here, guys. Anybody else? Nobody else has answers on data engineering versus data science. Okay, but we have some very strong entries. I think I kind of have to give this to Rex. DE builds pipelines, DS fits models. I agree with that. I agree with that, and it's also an appropriately short answer. Data engine, and again, neither one of these is more important or better or worse. Both of them are very valuable contributions to a data science lifecycle. I think that it's easier to maybe land a position as a data engineer because you can do that strictly on your coding skills, right? On your coding, on your Python or your Java skills, according to Mustafa. But I think that this is a very accurate description. So Slad, I hope that helps you. But I think if you look at some of the other descriptions or answers you got in the chat, they're pretty accurate. So I think you're on your way there to finding an answer. All right, I think I have time for one more question, and then we have to start wrapping this up because Instagram's going to cut me off. Okay, so hi Dennis, I'm joining from Bangalore, India. I am trying to switch my career to data science and I develop skills in Python, SQL, and Power BI. Please guide me to get the updated latest tools. Okay, well, why data science? right? We're not trying to chase tools. We're trying to chase our passions. So help me understand why data science. Because to me, this question is kind of, it's kind of like what I was speaking about earlier, where people are chasing the right combination on their resume, or they're trying to please the recruiter. No, we're trying to follow our passions. We're trying to be the best data scientists we can. Okay? Praveen says creative means like fantasy thinking. No, not always. Not always. Creative means more about thinking outside the box, right? The answers that you want out of your data, that the business wants, that they're paying you for, isn't always in one single data set, right? One of the examples I give for creativity is I read this great white paper a couple years ago. It was a white paper looking at trading stocks automatically and coming up with methods to trade stocks that are automatically profitable. That's not a unique paper, right? There's a million papers about that. But this particular paper didn't focus on indicators or, price action, all that stuff. They focused on the bid-ask table and on the depth of the orders of how many bids there were versus the ask. And they did it based on, well, what happens if there's 10 bids, 20 bids, 30 bids, 40 bids, so on and so forth, right? So that's an example of being creative. With the same data set that everybody else have, you're just looking at it in a different way, right? So that's what I mean by creative, not necessarily fantasy thinking. It's about being able to say, well, wait a minute, if I have this data and I combine it with this data, or if I transform this data this way, then I can go here, and then you're getting to a completely different answer, right? That's how you can be creative in data science. It's also creative on how you apply the data overall. Customer data is good for sales, but it can also be good for future marketing efforts or for future product development. You can always find different ways to use data in creative ways. So that's what I mean by that, Praveen, but thank you for the question. Okay, everybody, I'm going to start wrapping up because Instagram's about to cut me off. Thank you so much for being here. I hate the fact that I leave questions in the chat, but unfortunately we run out of time. Please come back. I stream Sundays and Thursdays, 1500 GMT. You can also follow me on Instagram and YouTube where I post content of all kinds. My DMs are also open on Instagram and on X. But thank you so much for being here. I know it's summer for most of you, so it's probably pretty hot where you live. Stay cool out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.